This episode is sponsored by Audible. Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, and they have over 100,000 titles available for download. Visit audibletrial.com/The Scald Circle to begin your trial and download your free audiobook today. It's time to relax, grab a drink, pull up a chair by the hearth, and have a seat in the Scald Circle to listen to the story of how the sun goddess was enticed out of her cave from Japanese folklore, as told by Mynogan. Before we begin our story, we wanted to remind you that we release new tales for free every week. Our shorter tales release on Wednesdays, and our longer chapter stories release on every other Saturday. Find out where you can hear them on our website at thescaldcircle.com. And be certain to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. That way, you'll never miss out on one of our enchanting tales from around the world. In addition to our reminder, we have some exciting news for the month of July. You've likely noticed that our format sounds a bit different. Not only that, but you may have heard, in addition to our story releases on Wednesdays, we will also now be releasing longer, chapter-length stories on every other Saturday. As if that isn't exciting enough, starting on July 9th, we will begin hosting Fireside Stories with the Scald Circle at 7 p.m. Central Time, every other Thursday. Our Fireside Stories will be a live stream of Casimir and I regaling you with tales that you may have never heard before, along with some of our witty banter. So if you want to experience what a live show from the Scald Circle is like, that may be of interest to you. You can find out more details under the events section on our website. Now then, without further ado, this is how the sun goddess was enticed out of her cave. When the far-shining goddess, on account of the evil pranks of her brother Susanoo, the ruler of the moon, hid herself in a cave, there was no more light, and heaven and earth were plunged into darkness. A council of all the gods was held in the dry bed of one of the rivers, which we call the Milky Way, in the fields of heaven. The question of how to appease the anger of the goddess was discussed. A long-headed and very wise god was ordered to think out a plan to entice her forth from a cave. After due deliberation, it was resolved that a looking-glass should be made to tempt her to gaze at herself, and that tricks should be played to arouse her curiosity to come out and see what was going on. So, setting to work with a will, the gods forged and polished a mirror, wove cloth for beautiful garments, built a pavilion, carved a necklace of jewels, made wands, and tried an augury. All being ready, the fat and rosy-cheeked goddess of mirth, with face full of dimples and eyes full of fun, named Azume, was selected to lead the dance. She had a flute made from a bamboo cane by piercing holes between the joints, while every god in the great orchestra had a pair of flat hardwood clappers, which she struck together. She bound up her long flowing sleeves with a creeper vine, and made for herself a baton of twigs of bamboo grass, by which she could direct the motions of the musicians. This she held in one hand, while in the other was a spear wound round with grass, on which small bells twinkled. Great bonfires were lighted in front of the cave, so that the audience of gods could see the dance. A large circular box, which resounded like a drum when trod upon, was set up for Azume to dance upon. The row of cocks now began to crow in concert. All being ready, the strong-handed god who was to pull the sun goddess out of her cave, as soon as overcome by a curiosity, should she peep forth, hid himself behind the stone door of the cave. Azume mounted the box and began to dance. As the drum resounded, the spirit of folly seized her, and she began to chant a song. Becoming still more foolish, Azume waved her wand wildly, loosened her dress, and danced till she had not a stitch of clothing left on her. The gods were so amused at her foolishness that they all laughed until the heavens shook as with claps of thunder. The sun goddess within the cave heard all these strange noises. The crowing of cocks, the hammering on the anvil, the chopping of wood, the music of the koto, the clappering of the hard wood, the tinkling of the bells, the shouting of Azume, and the boisterous laughter of the gods. Wondering what it all meant, she peeped out. As she did so, the doubly beautiful goddess held up the mirror. The far shining one, seeing her own face in it, was greatly astonished. Curiosity got the better of fear. She looked far out. Instantly, the strong-handed god pulled the rocky door open, and seizing her hand, dragged her forth. Then all the heavens and earth were lightened, the trees and grass became green again, and the goddess of colours resumed her work of tinting the flowers. The gloom fled from all eyes, and human beings again became white-faced. Thus the calamity which had befallen heaven and earth by the sun goddess hiding in the cave became a means of much benefit to mortals. For by their necessity, the gods were compelled to invent the arts of metalworking, weaving, carpentry, jeweling, and many other useful applications for the human race. They also on this occasion first made use of music, dancing, the Daikoroga, the comedy which makes the gods laugh, and many of the other games which the children play at the present time. And that is the tale of how the sun goddess was enticed out of her cave from Japanese folklore. Thank you for listening to our story. If you enjoyed it, we recommend taking a look at our Patreon page as noted in the description below. You can earn great rewards while also supporting us to keep these stories alive for future generations to come. Also remember to subscribe to us on your podcast application and leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed the story. A special thank you to Kat for their support this month. Without your contribution, we wouldn't be able to continue these stories, and we truly appreciate it. Visit theskaldscircle.com to stay up to date with all of our current events, news, and much more. Not only that, but you can also visit our story archive of every tale we have told. It's sorted by origin and region for the convenience of your listening pleasure. Thank you for listening to our story. Don't forget, this episode is sponsored by Audible, the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks. While this story is over, you can still visit audibletrial.com/theskaldscircle to begin your trial and download your free audiobook today. Let us know what you've listened to recently on Audible via our Facebook page. We're always looking for new recommendations.